Hello there, my name is Dr. Dan O'Donoghue. I am a lecturer in geography at Canterbury Christ Church University, and I'm here today just to talk to you a little bit about the diverse geographies of the North Kent coast. I'm standing here today at a place called Reculver, about 9 miles north east of Canterbury. It's about 4 miles to the east of Herne Bay, which we can see over in this direction along the North Kent coast. And it's about 10 miles west of Margate, which we'll see in a little while on the other side. You can see behind me this impressive ruins, and this is the old parish church of Reculver. And it's a very interesting place because it has been removed essentially. The original church is no longer in use, and the current church is about 1.5 miles away. And that is because of the massive changes that have taken place along the North Kent coastline. So what I want to talk to you today about is a range of things. And what we can see from this one point really is interesting. Now, I'm going to flip the camera, if I can figure that out. No. So, if I turn around this way, you can see behind me, you can see a series of windmills out to sea. This highlights the changing landscapes or seascapes of Britain. And this is about 48 wind turbines out here, about 8 miles north of the Kent coast, in the Thames estuary essentially, as we're looking to the east. To the west. You can't quite see now, but as we move out to sea, you can see a whole series of these wind farms, including the largest in the world, the London Array, which is out in this direction where that ship is out to sea beyond those people. This is the tower. And what's really significant about this location is that this tower was abandoned, this church, in the mid-1800s because of erosion from the sea. So as geographers, we're interested in these different processes. And essentially, this site was used by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago. And they built a huge fort here at this location. And the church then was built subsequently about 400 or 500 years ago on this site. Now, because the Romans were here almost 2,000 years ago, we know the dimensions of their fort, and that's why I'm standing up on the fortifications of what would have been the fort. And the boundaries of it will become clear as I walk around the site. Now, this site was about 1 kilometre from the coastline when the Romans built their fort, and it defended a waterway. And they built a fort at the other side of the waterway as well, which I will talk about in a little while. But what we can see here, if we look in this direction now, is we can see the massive works to preserve the coastline and to prevent further erosion. And this is basically managing the coastline. Where it can be defended, the attempts are being made to defend it. If we look further to the west, you can see this kind of soft clay cliff, and just over the horizon of that cliff is a place called Bishopstone Glen, where there's some very rapid rates of erosion which are threatening some of the houses along the coast as you move towards Beltinge and Herne Bay, if you want to look at these places on a map. And this is a very popular location because of the erosion that's taking place on the soft cliffs. Very popular place for people to look for fossilized shark teeth, for example. Okay, so on one side, within a mile, we have a number of coastal processes taking place. We have erosion of the soft cliffs, we have protection of the coastline, and as we move around to the other side of the tower, we'll see there's some deposition as well and beach defences. On this side, we have the management in terms of trying to manage the coastline and protect the coastline with these big, heavy tons and tons of heavy stone, very resistant to erosion. And on the other side, we have lots of beach groins to try to contain the coastline and hold the sand as there's longshore drift in the Thames estuary of the sediments that are eroded from the cliffs are slowly drifting towards the east. So I'm going to walk around the site now. It's a lovely sunny day. And as I walk, we'll change aspect and we will look to the east, and we see the coastline changes. It's much flatter, and I'm now on the middle of what would have been a Roman fort. You can see all this raised ground, which essentially makes a big square, which I'm standing on. And the Reculver towers, the remains of the parish church of Reculver, are still here, and the remains of an earlier church, which was first built on the site. Now, what you might notice as I'm walking towards the east is in the far distance we can see Margate. Offshore we can see a number of ships. This is a very important shipping channel, very important to the geography of transportation. Many of these ships carrying containers going up the Thames estuary to Tilbury docks, or across the Thames estuary. We see, well, we can't see today, it's a little bit hazy because it's such a fine day. We could see Felixstowe in the distance and the Suffolk and Essex coastlines. You can see Southend clearly on a clear day. Now, if you look at the coast on this side, you'll see there's a number of, again, there are rocks deposited, but they're not deposited for the purpose of protecting the coastline directly from erosion. These are here to try to trap sand and pebbles. And there's a lot of active coastal management taking place here. Every year they replenish the beach with lots of pebbles that have been moved along. And we can see active management taking place. What you'll also notice here, you can just see a train in the distance there heading towards Margate, is how flat the land is here directly in front of you. Now, this land here is known as the Wantsum Channel. And I mentioned at one point that this the Roman fort, the site of the church behind me, was one of two Roman forts. And essentially the other Roman fort was at a place called Richborough, which is about 15 miles from here, near Sandwich, on the east coast of Kent. And here we are on the north coast, on the North Sea coast. And essentially, what we can see here is a billboard, as it were, or a sign telling us a little bit about the Wantsum. Essentially, there was a waterway here. And as we look out to the east where Margate is, that was an island in the past, as recently as about 500 years ago. And that's why the area out there is known as the Isle of Thanet. It was not connected to the coast, certainly not in Anglo-Saxon times. And this very flat land now that we're looking at basically encircles Thanet. This land was water. There was a waterway here that went all the way around over towards Sandwich, and you could basically get within about 2 miles of Canterbury by sea in the very early medieval period. And that's how they got a lot of the stones to the cathedral to build. This land has now been reclaimed, and you can see it's very fertile farmland now, and it's defended by these sea walls. If ever there were to be a very large storm and a surge, it is possible that this area could be flooded again. So as geographers, we're really interested in the way in which people manipulate the environment and the way in which the environment determines where people locate and what they do with the land that we have. So I suppose I find this a really interesting location from a geographical point of view, in that we have so many different processes. We have coastal erosion, coastal deposition, we have land management, conservation of the coastline, we have agriculture, we have economic activity in terms of shipping, we have energy generation in terms of the wind farms, and it's also used for leisure and entertainment. People come here now. It's designated as a country park, which contributes to the economy. School children come here, lots of tourists. You can see it's a nice day today, lots of cyclists. You can basically follow a coastal route that goes all the way to Margate on a bicycle or walk, if that's what you fancy. And it's just all around a really interesting geographical location. So the main purpose of today is just to give you a glimpse of the types of things we do as geographers, and to provide you with just a view of some of the local environments that we have at our disposal here at Canterbury Christchurch University, and that we can use for field laboratories, for practical work, etc. We tend to come out and visit these locations to explore what's going on. For example, it would be really nice to look at that Wantsum channel and dig some holes and see the different types of sediments and look for evidence of things in the past. And we could probably date precisely what was going on at that location. So I'm going to stop now. I hope you've enjoyed this little talk, and it might enthuse you to come and do some geography at Canterbury Christchurch University in the future. Thank you very much.